Welcome back to Let Me Mind My Business, the podcast for the real nosy bitches who like to pretend they're not nosy bitches. I'm your host, Sidoni Francis. Let's talk some shit, baby. Okay, so obviously we're here. I'm by myself. It's a solo episode because I really have some thoughts I want to get off. All right. So I've been talking to my friends a lot recently about the idea of whether or not you can kind of like have it all. I feel like as someone in my late 20s, I'm obviously thinking about my 30s and my 40s, and I'm starting to envision a life that is beyond myself, which is something that the me of 5 years ago, I was never, ever, ever, ever considering a man and kids and doing all these different things for my life. But now, you know, now that I'm an OB, now that old bitches are winning, I am thinking about these things. Okay. I am thinking about these things. And I keep thinking whether or not you can truly have it all. And I personally think the idea of having it all is a scam. I don't think it's real. I don't think it exists. And I think that the sooner people accept that, the freer they'll be able to become. And I think about this way because of how I was raised. So I was raised by a single parent. My parents split in the early 2000s. It was like 2005. I remember it because it was like right before High School Musical came out, and that was like January '06. But they split in 2005, and my mom pretty much had to get her life back in blood. Like when that happened, there was no support, there was nothing that she could really do. You know what I mean? So she went back to school, she went to work, she was grinding, she was doing all of these things. And I love to consider my mother as someone who was an active parent. I think she was an active parent 100%. But I was also a deeply independent child. So by the time I was like 12, she kind of, stepped back a bit and chose to focus on her career, knowing that I was getting older and things were getting more expensive. And I think about me being a child of her sacrificing parts of her career or parts of her education to ensure that I was set up correctly as someone who wasn't independent from her versus me becoming a more independent person and her choosing to take a step back from me and push in her career. So, because of that, I keep thinking to myself, is it really the idea of having it all, or is it more so just like prioritizing what matters to you in that moment? So my friends and I were having a debate maybe like a weekish ago. We were talking about how feminism has become this idea of like girl boss capitalism in a way. And we were particularly talking about a few different content creators when we were saying this. And I think so much of this comes from like that lean in era of feminism that was happening in like the 2010s. So I don't know if you remember Sheryl Sandberg, white lady. She was like the COO of Facebook, I believe, but she started this phenomenon of leaning in to like the conflict, leaning into the problems. And this was the brand of feminism that rose up with like the Sophia Amoruso girl, the girl who did Nasty Gal, like the idea of being a girl boss, this whole thing. And I think a lot of women who were girls in the 2000s and the 2010s have pretty much been told, like, oh, if you work hard enough, you're gonna get everything, the great career, the social life, you'll be highly educated, great skin, body tea, hobbies, 8 hours of sleep, this whole thing. And I think that's inspiring. Yes, like the idea, like you should want more. Obviously, you should want like this very, high strung life of like having every single thing that you could desire. But I also think this is like very detrimental for women of color, particularly Black women. And I say this because I was raised in a household that was very much so what's next. Like I think about coming home, getting like a 98 on a test and my parents being like, where are the other 2 points? And when I say my parents, I want to be very specific. My mother being like, where are the other 2 points? And when I speak to a lot of my Black female friends who are similar to me, people who are college educated, who work certain jobs, they all kind of have that same, experience where they'll say that like their motivation was intrinsic, yes, but there was also that extrinsic factor of your parents being like, you are performing at a high level, yes, but there is more that you can accomplish. And I think when you're kind of like raised in that mentality or built up in this mentality of that being the pressure, and then that compounded with the idea of having it all, when something falls down a little bit, whether it's like your mental health, whether it's your career, your love life, whatever it is, it feels like a deeply personal failure. And I think that's the problem. Like the model is broken because you've kind of been conditioned to be like, "Oh, I should have all of these things." So when all of the things are working at once, it's amazing. It's great. It's like, "Oh my God, yay, like I'm so happy I'm doing all these things." And the minute one particular thing like breaks out of the equation, like the loop doesn't work, the circuit isn't working, all of a sudden you're like crashing out because you're like, "Oh my God, I failed. This is like I'm not good at this thing." And I think for me, something that I've really been thinking about is the idea of like trade offs in my life not being failures. They're more so strategy. Like the idea of like, I'm taking a strategic approach to my life when I choose to deprioritize something. So in this season of my life, 26, grown, starting a business in grad school, thinking about going back to work, doing a podcast, making videos, like all this shit. I'm very clearly prioritizing work. Like I'm prioritizing my career from multiple different aspects. I'm prioritizing my career as a creator. I'm prioritizing my career as, someone in the tech industry. I'm prioritizing my career as I think about like on camera work. Like that is the big thing for me. I'm very much so career oriented. Something I'm also prioritizing is my personal relationships. So, like with my friends, making sure that I'm seeing my friends consistently, making sure that, I'm reaching out to my friends and I'm talking to my friends. So, months aren't going by or years aren't going by where I'm like, oh, wow, I haven't spoken to so and so in so long. Like, you're just getting updates from Instagram. But as a result, the thing that has suffered is like my romantic endeavors because, like, these are the two things that I'm choosing to lean into. As a result, I'm sorry, like I can't be his piece. I'm his panic, if anything. Like I'm not his piece. I can't do it. And I think about this a lot because like I've been kind of framing it as quote unquote seasons of life where it's like you can have everything, just not concurrently. And I think about this in the way of when I went to college. So I remember being like 17 years old, going to Vanderbilt, and so many people telling me, oh, yeah, you can either have a really great social life, you can have really good grades, or you can have good professional outcomes, but you can only pick two out of the three. And I remember hearing that and being like, get the fuck out of here. Like, I am a straight A student. I'm super like engaging and extroverted, and like, I get what I want career wise. Like, I'm going to have all three of these things. Spoiler alert, did not get all three of those things. And my God, there were semesters where I would be looking at C pluses. I'd be like, God damn, I ain't never, prior to going to college, I had never received a grade below an A. It was jarring to sit in classes and be like, oh shit, like the curve got me. And even within that, I still don't think it was particularly difficult because my major was something that I really liked. So when I was getting a C plus, it was because it was like a general ed requirement that I had to take for science or math, which just wasn't my strong suit. By the time the end of the sophomore year rolled around and I was just strictly in my poli sci classes, I was getting straight A's. But I think about that a lot because I then made an active decision when I saw what my grades looked like, when I saw that I was, a 3.5 student and not a 4.0 student. And obviously I'm speaking from a place of privilege because like a 3.5 is not like terrible grades. It was just like for me it felt very terrible because obviously, I'm a high achiever and I was raised by a crazy woman. But for me, I really chose to prioritize my social life, which like, I was in a sorority, I was outside, I was having fun, and I chose to prioritize my professional outcomes. So I was always at the career center, I was always networking. And in the end, like I left college with a great group of friends, a job, and a subpar transcript. And I'm pretty okay with that. But I think about that a lot in relation to where I'm at now, how I was grinding so hard from, let's say, like ages 21, 22 to around 25, where I wanted every single thing to be perfect. I wanted the boyfriend to be perfect. I wanted the work to be perfect. I wanted, my personal life, my familial relationships, all these different things. Like they all had to fit into like every little box. And in reality, I was just pushing like a square into a circle hole. Like it just it's not making sense, and when things would happen, like let's say like my boyfriend and I broke up, I would be crashing out. I'd be like, "Oh my God, like I failed, like who's gonna love me again? I lost my job. I'm like, what am I gonna do?" I'm freaking out for like a full few days, like, "Oh shit, what's going on here?" My mom and I get in a fight and I'm like, "Oh my God, am I a bad daughter?" All these different things. When in reality, it's just like, hold on, something has to fall back. What is it gonna be? So I think for me, in this particular era of my life, how I'm thinking about it is that I think my current output is excellent. I think it's above board. It's solid. I think I'm doing a great job at the things that I do. Let me know, by the way, if you like the podcast, leave us a 5-star review. We do appreciate that. It does go into the analytics. My management does keep track. So, you know, quick plug. But I think my output is excellent. I think the things that I do, the content I create, the work that I'm doing in my internship, all these different things are of a high bar, and I feel balanced because I'm not necessarily trying to take care of like a bunch of other things. So like, for example, I have a dog. I love my dog. I love Theo. If you guys know me, I'm a mommy, mamacita, like I love my dog. This summer though, the grandma is the baby. Like Theo has been at my mother's house in Queens, and I have not really seen him like that. I've seen Theo like 2 or 3 times when I've come back to New York, and that's because I couldn't take care of him and be an SF, writing PRDs and doing all the stuff that I need to do for an internship and flying back and forth for content stuff. Like it just wouldn't have worked. So Theo has been taking, a 12-week vacation at his grandmother's house where he gets to run around in St. Albans and he's having a great time. Okay. So, with that, like I struggled with the decision of like whether or not, I was gonna be like a deadbeat mother for the summer. Um, and I remember one of my best friends telling me, she was like, there's no gold medal for being exhausted. There's no gold medal for being overcommitted, for being stressed out. Like, if your mom can take the dog, let your mom take the dog. And obviously, everyone doesn't have a dog, but the idea of if someone else can take on something for you, or if you can deprioritize another thing, you might as well do it because you're not going to get a gold medal for being stressed out. And I think this is a big problem, particularly in like this young corporate sphere, because I think about like being in college or being in business school and someone asking you, like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And you're like, "Oh, I'm so busy. Oh my God." It's like you're trying to like fake the humility of, how stressed out you are. When in actuality, it's like, one, are you actually that busy? But if you are that busy, like, bitch, are you okay? Like, what, what's going on here? You have to do the things that matter to you, obviously, but like, even within that, at what point do you chill the fuck out? Like you need to chill the fuck out. So for me, as I've been thinking about 30, because as of today, I'm what, 45, maybe. I don't know. I can't really count, y'all. We're recording this at the end of July. Um, and my birthday's in September. So 45 days until my 27th birthday. And when I think about my 27th birthday, that's obviously like my late 20s. I no longer get to be like, I'm in my mid 20s. Like, no, I'm grown as hell. Like, I'm inching up on 30. Like, it's coming. It's coming at me hard. It's coming at me hard. Like, literally with like a knife in hand. Jesus Christ. But I've been thinking about the things that matter to me in the future. Like, what do I want? Like, how am I going to build my life? And for me, what that means is that, like, some things are going to be a little mid for a season. Like this season, this is the career season. This is the health and wellness season. That's what I got. Unfortunately, I fear this is not the romantic season. This is not, the season of like familial, like dying on the hill for my family. Like this is the season of me. Like that's what it is right now. This is the season of me. So I have to prioritize the things that are going to help me in this particular era of my life. So that's really what it's going to come down to. The idea of prioritizing the things that matter and deprioritizing the things that honestly, like, I won't say they don't matter. I won't say that. But what I will say is that they're not a P0. Like, I hate to be like so corporate in this, but the shit that's a P0 needs to be prioritized. The shit that's a P1, P2, P3, put on a back burner. Like, you can get it done in another quarter, pretty much. And for me, all I can think about is I just think my dream life is bigger and bolder than what modern feminism has sold me at this point. It's bigger than being a girl boss. It's bolder than leaning in and like engaging in this like bullshit idea of like having a gentle patriarch or things like that. Like you can do whatever the fuck you want to do, you know? Like you can live your life, you can enjoy yourself. And that's how I'm thinking about it. And I feel like everything else will fall into place as I go through this like prioritization, deprioritization exercise within my life. I hope you enjoyed this. Because Lord knows I'm here and I'm stressed. I'm having an existential crisis. And me and my therapist are meeting Monday at 9 a.m. to discuss this. Like, that is exactly what's going on. But, hopefully someone else feels this way too. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.